nothing better that you could do in your life than to stay as a light. Think about a lighthouse on the shore. We have the rocky ocean. There's a storm. There's boats in there. They need assistance. Does it make any sense for you to turn your light off? It makes no sense, right? But what do people say? Oh, be empathetic. Watch the news. You should sympathize. You should feel angry. You should feel worried. You should feel sad for these people. Oh, yeah? That's turning your light off. Now, what happens to all the boats? They all sink. That doesn't help anybody. You got to keep your light on. You can't get sick enough to make sick people well. You can't get poor enough to make poor people rich. You've got to demonstrate what alignment means. You got to live it. You got to be your light. And you got to know that energy, even if you can't speak the words that people can hear and understand, you just let them say what they say and you just walk through your day as a light. And that, believe me, that kind of energy influence is having massive effect.
Brian, thank you. Welcome to the show. And I was looking forward all week to talking with you. I've been binge watching your videos on YouTube, and we're going to be diving into what I think is one of the most misunderstood subjects. I don't know how to language it. I think actually not subjects, but ways of being in the world that ultimately lead to a fulfilling, happy life where we feel empowered and embodied. And the words that is often used around this is manifestation or creating the life you want through your thoughts. And there's so much misinformation about this topic. What I love about you is you explain very practically and simply in a way about how to create the emotions and the frequencies within yourself to live a life that is more aligned with your true nature. To start, how do you explain to people what it is that you do?
Well, it's really about empowerment. It's about helping people, like you said, to understand a new way of life, a different perspective on how life is, so that we all know that we have the power within us to change anything about our life. There's no victims or anything. It's just energy. We are energy beings. And based on that energy, we talked about this just a few minutes ago, the projector effect, that the energy is within us and it's projecting, and that is what our life is about. And we are born with the power to be in charge of that projector. Now, what happens as children, we get a lot of programming. And so that projector gets loaded up with a reel. We don't know what's happening. The people around us don't know they're doing it. And then that thing starts to project. And we're wondering, well, what the heck's going on? Why is my life like this? And there's no awareness that we're literally doing it. And so what my work is about is helping people understand that this is what happened to us. This is why our life is the way it is. And so we can get in there and we can change that, what's on that projector, and get our life manifesting through the energy that we offer. The manifestations are always happening. It's just a matter of the energy that we're projecting. And that's what's coming back to us. So that's what I want to help people understand, how to use their powerful mind. Our conscious mind is such a powerful part of us. It really is the part of us that is in charge of that energy, which then determines how our life is going to be playing out. And so my first book, Higher Vibrations for Health, Happiness, and Harmony, is a 20-week program. And it's geared to do that, to help you understand what happened, how you can change it and work through it like that over 20 weeks. And many people say, well, Brian, how do we know that feeling good, feeling in a positive state has so much power? What is it really doing? And so then I said, okay, I wrote the book of life. And I said, here's how the creative process works. And I showed the cycle, the 5 parts, and all the elements of the universe. And when you see that and you understand it, you can see in part 3, we're making choice as we go through our day, the way we think about things, our perspective on things. And that is either going to feel negative or positive, because we get emotion that tells us and lets us know where our energy is about that. And that's the point that determines the energy going to the law of attraction. And then the law of attraction is just the energy manager, doesn't know anything about us, but just then is sending back that same energy. So that's why our life doesn't change, because we end up looking at something we don't like. We talk about it and think about it and feel about it in ways we don't like. And we keep and perpetuate that cycle going. So what I'm doing is I'm helping people to repattern their conscious mind to these different types of perspectives on things, learn new ways to look at things so that you see how they're serving you. Now you've got a positive perspective. Now, as you do that over time, gradually, you're going to change your subconscious beliefs. That's a gradual change. That's a fade away to the old and fade into the natural. Now, we can very quickly change our conscious mind. Our subconscious mind doesn't change in that instant basis. So here's the thing. When you start to do this and you start to repattern your conscious mind, at first, the world doesn't look like it's changing all that much. And I talk about this in my video, the 7 stages of manifestation change. You get to stage 4 because you've done the pre-work, you've learned how it all works, you've done some deconstruction of your faulty beliefs and whatnot. You're feeling more at ease. You're feeling more optimistic. You're feeling more worthiness about yourself. You're understanding the truth of abundance more, and all of these things. So your energy is more calm. It's more positive. And then in stages 5, 6, and 7, they're just noticing stages. There's nothing to do there, but you just see that the more often you are in that positive energy, now you start to notice the flow of your day. It starts to change, but not right away. It may take a little bit of time as you continue to respond in your day, right? You replace all the reactive energy with responses. And then you see the flow, and then you start to see trending manifestations, and then you see full-blown manifestations that you want to see in your life. So I often liken it to the freight train. If the freight train is traveling very fast to the west, well, we know we can move it to travel to the east, but we know there's a slowing down process because it has momentum. Even from a physics point of view, we know that's pretty logical. We don't stop it on a dime, turn it, and go the other direction. Well, energy momentum, which is what beliefs are, they have that same property. So as we continually respond to these things in our life, now we're slowing it down. We're slowing down the momentum of that faulty belief, and we're replacing it. We're starting to build momentum on a belief that supports what we want. Now, as that turns around, now we start to see the manifestations change. So that's what my work is all about, to help people in empowerment. And that's why I like to call it empowerment. You could call it transformational. We're transforming our mind, right? But I like the word empowerment because we are all here as the creators, intentional creators of our reality when we learn to use our mind. Right now, we're all creating, much of humanity is creating by default, meaning the beliefs that we have in place since we were children are still the dominant force that's creating our reality, right? So we want to start to work with that and change that. And so that's what empowerment is all about, learning how to do that. So then you become the intentional creator of your reality. You are choosing intentionally your thought energy going through your day on all topics. And you're going to find the ones that are out of alignment, which simply means they have negative emotion associated with them. And you want to look at, well, what's going on? What am I thinking? How am I looking at this that I'm feeling that negative energy? And I want to change that. I want to get a new perspective going so that there's positive energy there. And that change in energy then will bring about a change in the circumstances. So that's full empowerment. And I often refer to it as mind mastery.
So most of us, as you alluded to, are going around and looking to the external world to tell us how we feel. So we're jumping on news cycles. We're getting all the negativity from the entire planet beamed into a nice 30-minute package for us to feel terrible. And that's apparently being informed and being a serious human being. And then whatever may be happening in our personal relationships or our work, whatever, all these things, if they're all going well, we will feel good. We're feeling in alignment. We're feeling nothing can go wrong. And then something negative will happen, and then we feel justified in being angry or frustrated or sad. So it's the entire work then, to simplify it, is, are we saying go inward to realize that you are the creator of your perceptions of what's happening, to seize control rather than being a victim of everything happening externally. So that in a simple way is easy to intellectually get. I'm just going to speak for myself. It's intellectually easy to get my head around that and it's also what quantum physics has shown us with the observer effect, and so much of the new science, or it's not even that new anymore, has shown us this reality. Yet the embodiment piece, how is it do we then, we've done the work, we understand this intellectually, but something still happens and it triggers something in us which has a physicality to it. If I think of my own emotions when I become frustrated or I feel triggered, let's use that word, by something that's happened externally, it's almost something physically felt. What would you say to someone like me to begin to disentangle that instant reaction, or is that just a path of the course? You need to go through that and override it or replace it with new
Well,
beliefs.
yeah, well, we want to understand emotions. So there's so many things that we're missing this knowledge of life, this creator process knowledge, and it tells us all about these pieces, how they all work together. So since we're energy beings, and it's high vibration energy that allows our life to flow as we want, the universe was just brilliant. It gave us a guidance system. It gave us an alarm system to know when we fell out of high vibration energy, and that is negative emotion. Now, if you've read my books, and particularly the book of life, I talk about our inner being, that non-physical part of us. Our inner being has the beautiful vantage point of not having to pay rent or go to work or any of those things. So it is independent of the physical world. It has a completely pure positive energy objective of everything. And really, that's what alignment is, to get our consciousness back in alignment with the way our inner being feels. So when you feel negative emotion, that's literally your inner being saying to you, you are looking at it in a way that I'm not looking at it. I see it in a much different way than you're looking at it, a way that's serving you. This is really important. This is a great question to ask yourself. How is this serving me? So that's your indicator system. That's your inner being with you all the time, never leaves your side, basically, really. Every thought comes with an emotion to let you know real time, are you high energy or are you low? And when it's low, then you look at it, and this is what I talk about in my deconstruction and reconstruction process. Well, what is that thought? What is my perspective on that? And you look at it and you say, well, that's invalid, right? Like you got to get right into the thought. And what is that thought? And when you look at it, you'll think, you compare that to the creative process, because that thought's coming from a faulty belief that you picked up in your younger years. And you compare that against the creative process, and you say, well, my inner being doesn't agree with that thought at all, because it's usually something about, well, life isn't fair, or I'm a victim, or it's hard, or I'm not worthy, or am I worthy, or am I good enough? These kinds of thoughts are thoughts that are way out of alignment. So you're always going to get a negative emotion. Anytime you think something is hard, or it's taking long, or you're not sure you can have what you want, or there's uncertainty, that's all your inner being saying, no, it's nothing like that. I say sometimes, I don't know if you, in your circles, you ever played this game as a kid, but kids played this when I was a kid, and it's the hot and cold game. You pick an object, you pick an object, and then you say to your friend, okay, I'm going to tell you hot and cold, and you keep following my instruction until you find that object, right? Your inner being literally plays that game with you, only it uses emotion to play the game. And so if you keep following, as your inner being says, that's positive emotion, that thought, that's good, that's in alignment, that's taking you to what you want. If you play the game, then of course you receive the manifestation that you want. But if you choose the negative feeling thoughts, well, you're going further away. You're going out of alignment from the energy that matches what you want. So you see, you got that guidance system. So it's incredible that, human beings do not know and understand their emotions are literally an energy guidance system to bring them, let them know if they're getting closer on the path to receiving what they want, or on, as I say in my videos, on the roadie ride, going towards more of the rough road and the train wreck.
If I think of my upbringing, I was literally entrained to believe that life, firstly, is materialistic, and this is not a slight on my parents or my upbringing. I don't mean to say that's they're not like that. Obviously, no human being is actually like that in their deeper soul. But it's very much life should be hard. Number one, that's just the nature of life. It's hard, it's difficult, and that if you want what you want, that's going to take a hell of a lot of work. And you want to get from X to Y. Not even the question of why you want to get from X to Y, but you just need to get from X to Y. From that, well, I do know it's from that survival mechanism of like we're still driven by that thing of we need to survive. So we need it all, and all the things that we've now added onto that make us feel that we're safe beyond our, Maslow's hierarchy of needs of just having food and a house and so on. It's so deeply ingrained, that attitude, that when things become easy, or if I'm feeling good, it's almost I've had to do a lot of work on this. I'm almost then expecting the negative thing to happen, or expecting the next day not to be like that, because that is the nature of life. It's up and down. So what you're teaching and transmitting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so when these negative, we deem them negative or difficult circumstances come, the way to not be swept up with them is to then spin them around and view them as, well, no, this is helping me grow. This is helping me understanding new parts of my consciousness and life. I guess the question is that then to say that a lot of people, when I speak to them about this, think that what is being said is that you should always be happy in a high vibrational state, regardless of what's happening. And I would say that that's impossible. What's your answer to that? And how do we touch these emotions?
So let's go through the creative process quickly here, just the 5 steps on a summary basis here. So it's asking for what you want. It's natural, right? Like if you think about Amazon or any of the online companies or whatnot, you get online and you order, and then you go about your business, and all things happen, and then they knock on the door, and there's the parcel kind of thing. Well, the creative process is like that, only better, because the asking for what you want is a natural. The universe didn't even leave it to us to ask. It happens from life experience. We came here to mix it up, get in, have experiences, get the clarity, get the awareness, and understand that means your life just got better from that contrast, right? So let me say this too, and I sometimes divide it. I say there's natural contrast and unnatural contrast. Unnatural contrast is faulty belief contrast, and that tends to be the rough contrast. But let me just make it easy here. If you live in a house and you say, the house has been good, I'd like to have a house now with these features. That's natural contrast, just wanting something to be more, a little different, but there's no rodeo ride in it. It's just the natural want to expand into something different, that now in your life, from your experience, you want something different, right? So the creative process is the contrast happens, that's the asking, and then we have our inner being setting up all the details and the path and all the way to receiving. And then comes part 3. That's where we're really in this, because part 1 and 2 are pretty much, they're automatically happening all the time. Expansion is happening all of the time. The joyous part comes in, is a choice for us, because if we choose the good feeling thoughts, it's joyous expansion. If we don't choose those thoughts and we choose the others, the more negative feeling thoughts, then the expansion we don't receive it. We receive more of the same that we don't like. See, it's kind of a side loop to the creative process. It's a negative feedback loop, and the law of attraction just keeps delivering and delivering and delivering until we step outside of that perspective. So part 3 is the allowing of one thing or another. Law of attraction is part 4, where it's deciding, okay, you've sent me this energy, this is what I'm giving back to you. And if it's high vibration, then we're in the receiving. Now we're going to be receiving the details to the path of things that were set up, right? So anytime you experience something that is unwanted in any way at all, immediately, faster than you can snap your fingers, you have a vibrational reality. Now we got to talk about total reality. Total reality is not just physical reality. This is another faulty belief that we grow up with. If it's not on planet Earth, it doesn't exist. That's wrong. If it doesn't exist on planet Earth and you want it, it exists in your vibrational reality. So you have parallel worlds. You have your physical world, and you have the vibrational world that is constantly growing because of your experience on planet Earth, right? So what people perceive as a loss is always a net gain, and you get to the point where you realize that, oh, it was just asking, it was just awareness, it wasn't loss at all, because when I feel like something is a loss or a failure or a problem, immediately that's contrast. Those are words given to contrast. Contrast got a bad rap because of faulty beliefs. Contrast is a beautiful thing of celebration. It's a part that lets humanity continue to expand in this whole universe. And so when you realize that in the moment that, let's say it's a relationship situation, let's say it's a job situation, any situation in life, really, business, you name it, friendship. If there's a situation and you don't like it, in the moment, you feel that pinch, your inner being has got what you want, ready for you to start receiving. As I say in my videos, you don't have problems. None of us have problems. All we ever have is a focus issue, right? And I think my last video, I talked about how humanity gets caught in the trap of contrast as something bad. Something's gone wrong, right? That's where, that's where we got to use our emotions, saying, hey, negative emotion, I'm focusing on the contrast in a negative feeling way, right? Instead of the celebration about what now my life just got better. And so this is how, I help people in my coaching calls, and I go through the program with people and whatnot. And we start to unwind all these faulty beliefs and get the focus in the place and the perception and the perspective that keeps us in that positive feeling place all the time. Our inner being never, ever feels negative emotion, right? Because it knows in the moment that you have something that is not the way you want it to be in your life. I often joke with people and I say, at that moment, your inner being is sitting by the pool with a pina colada, and it's celebrating all that good stuff that you want. And it's saying, come on over with me and have that stuff, right? You did the asking. You said when you came here, you wanted to go into and choose and be free to have your experiences and decide what you wanted from that. So do it. But once you've done it, realize I've set it up. Come on over. There's nothing gone wrong. Nothing has ever gone wrong. I get excited when I talk about this.
Yeah, no, I
This
love it.
stuff.
I love it. I love it. I love it too. So I'm just trying to understand then contrast, because people would say, okay, so what's it? Is contrast always just showing your way back to your true nature, to use that language? So if something's not actually in alignment, and I'll give you the example of many of us, if we're a very goal-orientated culture, still in the West particularly. So you fix yourself on the thing that you want, the job, the career, the partner, and then you action those steps to get there. And on that path, often, like, firstly, where were those goals and those desires put in from? Are they your actual true desires, or are they desires from the culture that you're told that success and all these things? And then all of a sudden, let's say you might get those things and they're not what you thought, or you don't get those things. Either way, you're in a state now where you're sad or frustrated or unhappy because you've done all the things you thought you should do and it's not worked out. So then that form of contrast, can we just say, well, the beautiful thing of that is it's showing you all the things that you're not, and over here are all the things that you are. And the more that you come into alignment with who you actually are, the more joy naturally wells up. Am I somewhat getting on the right path with how we can?
Yes, you are. The contrast is right now in humanity, we're waking up, and the contrast is causing us to go in and understand the truth about ourselves and the truth about our life. That's what most of the contrast is about now. But it's also about our dreams and desires too. But a good part of it is getting the understanding of who we are, because when you feel not good enough, right, you get that feeling of unworthiness, right? I should have did it different. I was wrong. I was bad. I ruined my life. Any of that kind of stuff. See, you get a negative emotion over that. That you're going to get. That's your inner being saying, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Do you know how valuable you are? Do you know you're an agent of the universe? Do you know you came here with gifts and talents? You came here to be part of the network of humanity that you came here to serve both yourself and humanity at the same time, and you have gifts and talents and qualities that are unique. There's nobody like you in the way that you are and the way you want to express yourself, and there's already demand for you. See, economics got it backwards. It's like you got an idea and you got to find demand. It's not the way it works in this universe. When you feel the urge to do something, to create something, it's because there's already demand in the planet for what you are, who you are. And so you're born naturally in demand. But what do? We spend our life trying to be successful, trying to find demand, trying to be rich, trying to be perfect, trying to be all these things that we already are. So yes, right now, a lot of the contrast takes us back into the realization is, hey, I already am that. Why have I been trying? So yes, in the matrix, as I refer to it as the faulty reality bubble, most of our dreams and desires, a lot of my clients, when I work with them, they realize that, oh, those were really not my dreams and desires. They were the dreams and desires that came from society or my parents or my friends, but they're not really truly me. I've been kind of living like a bear in a herd of elephants. And I finally realized that I'm a bear and I want to live with the bears, right? I don't know if it's Einstein said this or not, but if you put a fish in a tree, it's going to feel stupid, right?
Yeah,
And as
yeah,
kids, since we're not honored with our natural gifts and talents and why we came here, and we're not fostered in the consciousness that matches the knowing that we come with. Then we grow up thinking we should do this to be successful, to have, as you said earlier, to get success in life or security, secure ourselves, that kind of thing. This is the road, people will say. Follow this road to success and it will all work out for you. I have a lot of those clients, and I can assure you, they tell me that's not the road. I've done it all and I'm not happy with it. So can you please help me to understand what true success and happiness really is? Because I did everything they told me and I'm not having fun.
What's that great Jim Carrey quote about, I wish everyone had, $17 million or whatever to realize that it's not what they think, or it's not going to resolve these emotional patterns that we have. Nothing will. I mean, it'll certainly might make you more comfortable on your misery if you're not looking at this deeper questions. So I really want to ask, because just to differentiate here between contrast and, let's say, grief, like losing loved ones, and how do you see grief in this picture of allowing ourselves also to feel grief? And I'll just quickly say, if I think of myself when I've had periods of grief in my life, and at the time it was difficult, or I was allowing myself to feel the full emotional spectrum of it. But when I actually reflect now on those periods of my life, there's a real beauty in them, in what I learned about myself and who I became as a result, in the cracking open of my heart at that loss, showing me how much I loved. I actually now view it as this beautiful period. But certainly in the moment, you might have looked at me and said, I was in a state of suffering. How do you understand grief within manifestation and the inner being?
Great question. So let's take this in the context of the creative process, because it really simplifies everything. So the first thing you said a couple of words. So grief and losing. Now we know there's no loss in this universe, not in the creative process, not in the cycle of joyous expansion. There cannot be loss. And grief is a negative emotion. Well, wait now, Brian. Wait now, you telling me when people grieve and feel sad over somebody, a loved one having passed on, that that's low vibration energy? And I'm saying, yes, it is. It's grief is low vibration energy. And if you, there's some other people in the past that have done work around relating body ailments to emotional states of mind, and grief affects the lungs. And it's unnatural to carry negative emotion. It will, first of all, it's the indicator that you're out of alignment with your perspective on it. And if you keep going and you keep loading up your body with that negative energy, then parts of your body are going to signal you saying, hey, I've had enough. Get yourself back into alignment. Nothing has gone wrong here. Life is a cycle. We knew when we come in that we came for whatever number of years, didn't even know how long it would be, but they were going to be good years. We didn't measure it on the length of time, but the quality of time. And we knew we would know people and we would interact and it would be fun and it would be loving and it would be joyful. And then the cycle would come and we would cycle out of the body. And then, right, life is eternal. We're eternal energy beings and cycle in again. So, the plant kingdom shows us that, the animal kingdom, everything is a cycle. Abundance is a cycle. The water system is a cycle. Humanity is a cycle. It's joyous expansion, not only in the physical, but in the non-physical as well, in the energy as well. It's, in the fall, if you live in a place where the leaves drop in the fall, do people stand around trees and cry, "Oh my, that poor tree, the leaves are dead on that poor tree. What am I going to do now?" We don't do that, right? It sounds silly for me to even say it because we know there's a process of renewal. And it's the same thing for humanity. But we've grown up with these beliefs. And from the time we were a kid, like so many other beliefs, we see people grieve. We see people be sad. We see people mourn. "Oh, I don't want to live anymore. That person is gone." Think about this. Everybody, "Oh, that person is gone from our family. We're all going to die. It's not worth living anymore." Well, who would be left on the planet? See, it doesn't make sense. This whole idea of transition, called death and different names, it doesn't make sense. And grief is a negative emotion that tells us it doesn't make sense. It's a low vibration emotion. Our perspective on it is out of order. Life is a beautiful thing, and no matter how long that we come for, our life, however we live it, has created expansion in the universe, and that's worth celebrating all the time. Even if we've lived our life in a lot of contrast and a lot of resistance and negativity, that's why, see, I said earlier, parts 1 and 2 are automatic in the creative process. Expansion is going to happen in this universe, whether we receive it or not. If we don't in this lifetime, it's still available. Our vibrational reality is available for receiving going forward. So we've just got a misunderstanding of what, it's just a peaceful thing. Coming into the planet is set up to be peaceful. Leaving the planet is set up to be peaceful. And here's a little story I tell to people. I don't know where I read this or I heard this, but anyway, there was a young fellow, a little boy, and he was crying. And a man come to see me. He said, "What's going on? What's happening?" That little fellow. So, "Well, my grandpa, he just died." And the man said, "Oh, that explains everything." And the little boy looked at him. He said, what do you mean explains everything?" And just a shocked look on this little boy's face. And the man said, "They have a parade. All the beings have a parade every day, and their candles are lit, and they're enjoying their in their parade of light." And he said, "But your grandfather's candle isn't lit." The young boy was just about paralyzed with what's going on with my grandpa. He said, "Your tears keep putting it out."
Mm.
You see,
Yeah.
there's nothing gone wrong. There's nothing gone wrong. It's just a natural cycle of life, of joyous expansion. And it's like so many faulty beliefs around money, around relationships, around life and death itself. We're just filled up to the brim with so many false perspectives of the way this
Mm.
life is meant to be. And that's why I wrote the book of life. Why did we come here? Who's the wholeness of who we are? And how does life work that it supports us all the time in living joyous expansion? And how is it that we can feel good all the time, even in the face of contrast? How is it that we can do that? Because the things that we want, think about this, think about a dream that you have. Why do you want the dream? Well, emotionally, it feels good. It's happiness. It's satisfaction. Okay, so there's the vibration of it. Now you look at your day, your daily emotion tracker, I say, track yourself. What kind of emotions do you got going on through the day, right? Now you compare it at the end of the day. Well, I said I wanted this, and it feels like happiness and joy. Wait, now I've gone through my day with anger, frustration, boredom. I'm nowhere near a vibrational match to what I want. How the heck am I going to receive that, right?
Yeah, that's the silver bullet right there. How you explain, like, everything we do is for an emotional state. Everything we want is for something that we think is going to make us feel better. I mean, look at the substance industries around, everything you can imagine to change our states to get to a better feeling state. And yet, as you said, when we look at our day, for the most part, it's the same habituated emotions that we're addicted to because they're what we know. I just want to touch back on grief just quickly. If I think of my own, and I think almost all of us, if we think when it's our time to go to transition to whatever comes next, the last thing I want is for the people I love to be sitting around grieving my loss. Like I'd want them to be celebrating my life and to be happy and to be thinking of the things that I left them with. And when I think of grief for myself of losing someone close to me, it's more obviously, yes, I miss them, but I miss that thing that they reflected in myself. So it's almost like I feel like I've lost a part of myself. And as you said at the beginning, it's that realization that we're whole to begin with. And the more we can come back to that realization of that we have everything we need internally and everything else is actually a joyous interaction with others, it certainly lessens that feeling of I've now lost this part of myself that I'll never get back.
Well, let's talk about that. That's a great piece to add to this discussion. So nobody's ever gone. Here's the thing is nobody's ever gone. Our body's gone. And yes, you can't touch them and you can't go to the park with them, not in a physical form. But if you feel the love for them, if you
Mm.
feel the joy of the experience you had, so you don't get to choose that. I mean, even logically, we know we're not going to be in these bodies forever. Our friends aren't, our family aren't. So there must be something that we're missing that could make this a better feeling experience of transitioning in and out. But if you feel the love for the people that have been in your life, uh, they will contact you. They will let you know that they're there. I've had it many times in many ways, and people I've talked to as well. They're not gone, right? And if you feel the love, they're really still with you, and they're kind of part of that non-physical team that, like you said, if once you're gone from this body, it's like, no, you guys go ahead. You came here for joyous expansion, right? Like have fun and remember the joy of our life together and those kinds of things. Because really, quite frankly, you would want if you could come back for 5 minutes and just visit everybody, and you could be in a sort of a physical kind of form. You'd kick them all in the pants, and you say, "Smarten up and get on with your life, and live the joy that you came to live. Nothing has gone wrong here. There's other people. I am not the source of your happiness. Your happiness is not gone. And even though you won't experience what you experienced through me specifically, the things that you've experienced with me, you can experience with other people. Now, this gets into relationships because people think, oh, that was the love of my life and they don't want me anymore, or they've transitioned, or something happened. And I'm here to tell you that maybe, or you're not going to have that experience, personal, close, personal, romantic experience with them, but there is more that will be that experience. That it won't be that face, but it will be that experience. You see, we don't get to, that's what we want, and why we want is what we focus on, the how and the who and the where and the when. That's our inner being takes care of that. What is the experience that we want? And there are lots of people that will fill that experience, and you've lost nothing. When somebody transitions, you lost nothing in terms of the emotional experience of your life. It's always a net gain.
Mm.
And again, we just got to get away from the fact that that personal, physical being touching them and talking to them and hearing their voice is not there. That is correct. But the experience of that person is not gone from the planet. It comes through other people. And I know this is a different way to look at life, but when you can get there, you can see how much unpacking of those faulty belief and negative energy, even from what you and I could be here for 6 hours and we could
Yeah.
keep talking about, right? And we would unpack so much about the negative energy, things that people have normalized as just the way life is. Oh, it's normal to be negative here. It's normal to feel sad here. Well, maybe you've normalized it, but I can assure you it is not natural, right? And what you want to get back to is what's natural, because you're going to be flowing in that energy, that high vibration energy, and life is just going to be so beautiful for you. And you can be assured your inner being is not one bit sad when people transition from their body. They're not gone. And so we just got, if we grew up like this, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation. We would be at complete peace. There would be nothing about grief and sadness when people transition. These are all learned behaviors.
Mm. Well, people would say that that's literally what life is. It's meant to be that. It's meant to be that friction, that sadness, and that grief with a few moments of joy. If I think of the way that's literally the people, if I think of in my life, the adults, that's the way they live their life. And then if I look at them now, they manifest all the things that they assumed were coming, such as poor health and decay, and all. It's very interesting to see that that's exactly what they got, and that's what they expected. It's a lot, as you said. It's a big. For me, it's been a real process of uh, constant observation of the thoughts to make to be to like a constant watch to see where is this even my thought? Is it? And so on, and I'd love for you the answer because I think we mentioned this before we started. How do you view on, say, people assuming that life is a tragedy in one way or another? How do you view people born into horrific circumstances, into a country at war, into kids who are dying of famine and so on? How does feel like the framework of us becoming in alignment with ourselves and having the opportunity to do so? How do you view it when people would bring this up as an example and say, well, what about all these people over here who don't have that opportunity? As evidence that life is indeed hard and sad and full of grief.
Well, let me dovetail into that by answering or just expanding on something you said. And a lot of people live with the idea that we came here as a sentence and we've got to prove ourselves, and to get out in some kind of decent fashion to whatever comes next, we've got to pay our dues, and we've got to blood, sweat, and tears through this life, and we got to pay our struggles and all that stuff. And that's what this human life is about. And it couldn't be more wrong. That is so wrong. It couldn't be more wrong. It's 180 degrees away from the polar opposite of what we came for, which is joyous expansion in the service of ourself and humanity. So now, taking what I just said there, now we got to walk up the hill. We got to really walk up the hill here, because we're getting into something even much deeper than our daily life. And that is, why do we come here? In the service of humanity and ourself at the same time. What could be any more in service of humanity to cause contrast that would make humanity ask in a collective way for a betterment of humanity? That is the selflessness of our inner being, of our eternal self, that we come here in this evolution of humanity, that it's like, it's just a lifetime. If I can come here and I can inspire contrast for a collective asking, like when you see what you've said to me, when you see that, what does it make you want?
Yeah, you want everyone to be in the same ability that you have. Yeah, harmony, peace.
Yeah, you do.
No violence.
We all,
yeah.
that you, that's why so many people that I coach and work with, they realize that I want to do this too, Brian. I want to do this too. I want everybody to live this good life, right? And so that's what we want. So as we look at, as a collective humanity, and we look at poverty, and we look at wars, and we look at this, and we look at that, it makes us want. There's contrast right there, collective contrast. Right now, from everything we talked about, what we know on a personal basis, physical reality, vibrational reality, it's the same thing collectively. So right now, as we see things on our planet that we do not like, at this very moment, the version that we like is available to all of us to receive. But what do? We look at those things we don't like, and we talk about them, and we feel about them, and we're offside with them, and we're negative about them. So now we're as a collective humanity, we're on the train wreck loop. It's literally available to us to receive a peaceful planet, a prosperous planet, a planet where there is civility and respect, and everybody is doing it their way and interacting together to serve each other. And so when we come into the planet and we choose to be born into a situation like that, we are precipitating the change that everybody wants. That's what we're doing. That's how brilliant we are as beings, that we're not coming in to just hack this through this life, or we're not even coming in to get the $1 million. We're coming in to serve humanity, and coming in a way that causes collective contrast. Oh, you better believe that is some pretty good stuff right there. Did that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I guess it's also, I hear that thrown out a lot as well as a negative toward you actually becoming empowered yourself. It's still also looking externally and saying, well, I'm not going to be happy, or I don't deserve to be happy, or who am I to do this unless all these other external circumstances align up with how I perceive the world should be, as opposed to very much being like, well, as I think we started off there, I'm the person creating my reality through my perceptions. And what good is it going to serve anybody, me being miserable about something that I actually can't do anything about, particularly in this state of awareness? So it's almost like I feel like it's another mechanism that we can use to prevent ourselves from actually just being in a state that we would actually desire to be in, because we have all these beliefs that we shouldn't be in that state. Did that
Yeah,
make
that's
sense?
a
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And let me expand on that, because there's nothing better that you could do in your life than to stay as a light. Think about a lighthouse on the shore. We have the rocky ocean. There's a storm. There's boats in there. They need assistance. Does it make any sense for you to turn your light off? It makes no sense, right? But what do people say? Oh, be empathetic. Watch the news. You should sympathize. You should feel angry. You should feel worried. You should feel sad for these people. Oh, yeah? That's turning your light off. Now, what happens to all the boats? They all sink. That doesn't help anybody. You got to keep your light on. You can't get sick enough to make sick people well, right?
Mm.
You can't get poor enough to make poor people rich. You've got to demonstrate what alignment means. You got to live it. You got to be your light. And you got to know that energy, even if your words, even if you can't speak the words that people can hear and understand, you just let them say what they say, and you just walk through your day as a light. And that, believe me, that kind of influence, that kind of energy influence is having massive effect on. If you go back to the 70s, I believe it was, and I believe it was Maharishi's book, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I think he wrote a book called, if I recall, Heaven on Earth, and he took the square root of a population, right? And he had this group of people that they were pure positive energy. They were running a meditation program so that their days was no resistance. They were completely in alignment, and just from that, they didn't talk to anybody. They didn't petition. They did not protest. They did none of that. And all the dynamics of that area improved. Everything you can think of. Crime reduction, wellness increased, social issues. Everything improved towards a term, heaven on earth, right? What is heaven on earth? It's that state of living in peace that we can achieve, right? We can achieve that kind of life where we all live together in peace, living it our way, not dictating to each other, not controlling each other, but allowing each other and supporting, or a better word, encouraging and joyful for the people living their life the way that they wanted to live, right? So absolutely. Our energy, we want to be a light. We want to demonstrate what it is to live our natural life.
Mm. Have you heard of Lynn McTaggart, her work with intention, which is based off Maharishi's original experiments with those meditators, where she put the scientific method around it just to show people the power of intention. And what you said, because this just affirms and rings so true with how important it is to maintain that frequency and be that lighthouse for people. They would have small groups of people. I think it was I think it was 8 people in groups, and they would do intention experiments where they would see somebody who had stage 4 terminal cancer, and they would put their intention on that person and see them as well and healed. And they've had miraculous effects where this person didn't even know that they had this intention experiment run on them, and they healed. And the same effects with violence and crime in areas. They measured it before they did the meditation and the intention experiments of intentioning peace, and afterwards. And not only did the crime rates and violence drop in these cities, but they never went back to the same height and place that they were previously, even after these experiments had stopped for years. So that is the power of holding alignment and a higher frequency for humanity. It's not it's not about you necessarily getting all the material things you want. I'm not criticizing that either if you want those things. But as you said, it's far more about us realizing our true nature, and then what does that do to life on this planet as a whole when each of us takes responsibility for that. Sorry, that's more of a statement. It was just very interesting that you mentioned Maharishi and the power of that. I would love to finish, Brian. Like, firstly, if someone's just starting down this path, this has really piqued their interest. They're already aware that they're somewhat responsible for creating their reality. What's some very practical steps that you give people, one or two, that helps them stay aligned throughout the day if they find themselves drifting or caught up in the same patterns?
Well, a good starting point is, and just before I say that, I did read The Intention Experiment, that book by Lynn.
Yeah.
And
I've had her on. She's great.
Brilliant, brilliant for sure. And so that's good to make that relationship. But in terms of people getting started up, sometimes I just say, just take 30 days, like, because if you want to get your trust going, get a little bit of demonstration going, something that you can get your hands on. I call them easy intention experiments, right? So you just think of something, it has no connection to money or time or responsibility or anything, a purple football, a red car, somebody giving you a free coffee or something. But just these little intention experiments that you do, and you get about 12 or 24 of these things going, and you think, wow, I have been thinking about these things, no resistance, and they're showing up. I'm not doing anything to make these things show up. There's got to be something going on here, right? That's a good thing for people to do, to get just this idea that there's more going on than just this physical planet. Because I often refer to our physical world as the tip of the iceberg, where there's so much going on underneath the surface. And that stuff is the stuff that's orchestrating for us. We are receivers. We're askers, we're thinkers, and we're receivers. And these demonstrations, these little experiments, are very, very handy to do. The other thing is, I say to people too, is just correlation is the best thing of all. Once you have consciously chosen the way you think about things, and you see that you've been in a positive state about things more often, even for 30 days, I say just do it for 30 days. If you do it for 30 days and you just carry a more positive mindset, a better outlook on people, you find their positive aspects. You're more often in a state of appreciation. You find anything good to think. Make the best of things, right? What's working? Always focusing on the bright side of things, right? Do it for 30 days. You will never doubt in your life again what positive energy does versus negative energy. I could say it in reverse. I could say be miserable for 30 days, complain about everything, and watch what happens. You probably won't make it to 30 days before you want to turn around.
There's a gentleman, Randy Weitenheimer. I wonder you'd like him very much. And I've had him on the show a few times. And he said, if you want to see how much your mood impact has on your reality, walk down the street frowning and judging everyone and staring at them, and then walk down to the end of the street, turn around and walk back smiling and finding something positive about everyone, and you see what you get back of those people and the life experience you have. Like that sounds sort of almost silly and stupid, but that's literally how we're living our lives. Like, we are living our lives in that state. We're viewing things negatively. We're judging other people, situations, and then we're wondering why we're getting all this negativity back. And then as soon as we flip it, it's like we're making it like some deep mystery of the universe. And then when we shift, I've done it in my own life. As soon as I shift my attitude or my feeling towards someone, I don't mean just like I just think better of them. I actually feel like my gratitude and love for that person, for the things that I haven't been paying attention to. It just instantly changes. Like, that relationship instantly changes when you drop all of those negative viewpoints on them. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy in how simple it is, and how incredibly stupid we can be, or just sort of stubborn in the way we are.
Well, and I understand that, it does from a broader perspective. It looks like that, but you understand, you say, well, we were kids. We didn't know we got programmed, and we fell into those patterns and those traps. and we just live them out. And we don't. Somebody said to me the other day in a coaching call, I thought it was brilliant. And they said to me, Brian, as we go through the program, it's like I've got glasses on and they're starting to defog. And it kind of looks like life is worse as I'm working with you, but I understand it's not worse. I'm just seeing all the junk that was there, all the negativity that I normalized, right? And so now what I'm starting to know is I have the awareness of how I can change the way I think about things, and I can start to get that stuff in alignment. But if I have an off day, or if I stop, paying attention to my thoughts, then my glasses start fogging up again and I can't see, and the world doesn't look so good. And I say, wait, now I've learned some things here. I'm going to start talking with myself different. Then my glasses, they unfog, and it's like, oh, that's the way it is. That's the way it's serving me. That's how it's meant to be, right? And I thought that was really, really brilliant. That a nice metaphor to show how we're learning about things. But to your question that you asked me just a minute ago, what is something that people can do? This is a mastery thing, right? It'd be kind of like saying, Brian, I want to learn. I want to be a martial arts master in this particular discipline, and I want the black belt. And I say, fine, great. Can you just give me some instruction that I can go there? And what do we say? We say, well, no, here's how it works. You start at the white belt and you graduate through to these different colors that you get more masterful in your movements, in your discipline, and what you understand. And eventually you get to the black belt. So we want to master our mind, right? And again, this is this instant gratification thing. Well, Brian, how can I master my mind quick, right? It's kind of like somebody says, well, to a pilot, give me a quick thing on how I fly that plane, right? And the person says, well, if I do, it might not go so well for you, right? So we just got to take the approach that this is an educational process to master our mind, to get really good. I say the 10-second rule. You want to work towards, no matter what comes into your day, what happens, what's going on, in 10 seconds, you can flip that around. Genuinely, not bypassing, not in denial, but true blue. I've moved myself from a negative feeling place to a genuine, emotionally settled, positive feeling place. And I'm there. I'm there. I'm not pretending to be there. I'm not ignoring anything. I'm facing it all, and I'm turning it around legitimately because I now have this creative process perspective that lets me do it. It's a process, and that's why I wrote the books, right? And it's like the 20-week program was first, and like I said, people wanted to know, well, why is this positive thinking energy so powerful? And I said, here it is, create a process. Once you know that, you'll never question the power of positive mindset, positive feeling, emotional positivity. You will never question that again, and how that fits into you being the receiver of the manifestations that you want, not trying to manifest, not trying to get a manifestation technique going, but getting your thought processes going. So you're streaming high vibration energy through your day, so that the byproduct of that are all the manifestations that you want versus the ones that you do not want, right? It's like you and I here right now, we're streaming real time, live. If our streaming signal degraded, well, you couldn't hear me or see me, or it would be in and I'd say some things and you would kind of not understand, and then vice versa. And it's the same thing with the energy going to the law of attraction. If you don't got a clear signal going in, then it's just going to take the default signal. Well, what's the default signal? That's those faulty beliefs you grew up with. And that's why your life won't change, because you got to get a conscious signal going that's overriding that. And if you override it enough, then it's going to change the default signal, and now you're in alignment, and now your life flows. So there's no quick technique. I know, as much as everybody would say, I want to be a vibrational master, it's not long when people start going through my 20-week program. It's just a process. It's an education that we didn't get, right? Like, I mean, if a child was in grade 1 and they say, well, I want instantly to be able to know calculus, well, we say, well, you can get there, but let's do addition and subtraction first, right? Let's work on a little bit of multiplication and division, and let's work that up, and you'll get to calculus. But you can't jump to calculus. You just have to know things to get good at it, right? Mm. But certainly you could start with appreciation, but you still got to know how to appreciate. Like if you got a brand new car, you love it. It's something you've been wanting and you have it, and now somebody just It feels to you like they've been just careless and they scraped right along your car, scratched up your paint, and dented your car, right? Just a silly little example, although for a lot of people, I'm sure they wouldn't consider it very silly. And they would have a reaction to that, right? How do we not react to that? How do we stay in peace? Because we're conversing with the law of attraction all day long. It doesn't know we have a new car. It doesn't know somebody just scratched it. It doesn't know we have cancer. It doesn't know our lover just left us. It doesn't know any of that stuff. It just knows how we feel. And when we feel negative emotion about the situation, we just invite more of that. But when we know how to look at it and say, okay, this is how this thing is serving me. From a creative process perspective, this is why my life is getting better because of this situation. Now we can find some peace. But if you don't know how to do that, you're just going to get swept up in the same old patterns. As much as you don't want to, as much as you know it's not good for you, you will get swept up in them until you bring in a voice that's stronger than that voice in your head that's telling you those other things.
Yeah, I'm just reflecting on my own experience with meditation and how long that took from the change. And the change is very subtle and it's over a long period of time, but all of a sudden you're in a completely different, your your reaction to things is entirely different from what it used to be. And more of the, it's very easy to sit in lotus in a beautiful state and then go out and honk and flick someone the bird who cuts you off in traffic. But what I've gradually found is over time that just the extension of that feeling state that I have there just stretches more and more into all the other aspects of life. But that's, yeah, as you said, it's not something that I did at once and everything changed. It's been a real process of discovery and embodiment and feeling and understanding that the more you, like with anything, the more you do it and you see results and the more evidence you have internally that it's working, the more you, it just, yeah, it becomes your default. Not,
Well, yeah, well, meditation is a fantastic, I call it a training tool, and it trains you to remain calm and centered
mm,
as you go through your day, no matter what's happening, kind of like the eye of the storm, right?
mm,
And so when you practice it and you train your mind to be in that calm state, and you're right, it carries in the day with you so that you're not as prone to reaction. You're more prone to responding, right? Your thoughts are clearer. That being said, you still got to have the dialogue in yourself to come back and talk to that thing so that you can reconcile it in your mind. But meditation, being the non-resistant segment of time that it is, it will invite to you details and a path that will be help you become more clear. You see, so it's an open door. It's like door open when you meditate. You're in a segment of no resistance. That's the receiving state, right?
mm,
But obviously we can't meditate all day long. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. But we want to have the non-resistance of that state. So how do we carry a state of non-resistance through our day? Well, things like appreciation and gratitude and understanding the wholeness of who we are and how this universe is behind us. You know, these things are conscious thoughts that we could be driving our car and something could happen to us. And we could say, okay, well, that's my energy coming back to me. Nobody's unfair. People aren't bad drivers per se. It's just I connected with that situation because I had the energy going. Let me take vibrational responsibility
mm.
and talk to this different. In fact, I had a client who was having some had some vibrational feedback in traffic, and we worked together. And it was about 3 weeks later, and their whole traffic experience changed because they stopped, waving the arm and cursing out and being frustrated. And they changed it to, aren't the highways great? Isn't it great we got highways to run on and a car to drive? A car. We got a car. It takes us from point A to B. Isn't that a beautiful thing? And I know there's courteous drivers, and I like connecting with them. You see, we just tell a whole new story. And then all of a sudden, as we do that, it replaces the old story. The energy is changed.
Isn't it? I think that's story. We're all cut in stories. We don't actually reflect on whatever the culture. I often thought that when I was a kid. What happens if I was born in Shanghai to Chinese parents? What parts of me would still be me, and what parts of me would just be an affectation of that culture? But when you're doing a really good job of, say, being, Paul, who's a Westerner. This is what I like. These are the sports we play. But then who would Paul be if he was Chinese? Like, what things would he then be? They're all stories. They're all stories that you've inherited, and you can tell yourself a new story if you want to. If you don't like that story, you can tell yourself a new story. No one's stopping you.
Yeah, yeah. I got a client I just love. He grew up with a lot of stories when he was a kid, a lot of programs, and he ended up in detention, and even as an adult, and he got out and he started looking. He said it's got to be better. Some must be something I'm missing. He eventually connected with me. It was 5 years looking at this and that, and it just wasn't doing it for him. And him and I connected, and that's one thing he loves to say, Brian. It's just stories. They're all just stories. I'm telling a way different stories now. He said, and I'm aware of all, I listen to the stories people are telling. They were stories I used to say. I don't tell those stories anymore because that's the real on the projector. That story is the real on the projector. And he's just a beautiful guy. And he's changed so much in terms of coming back to his true self and realizing that he was led astray. Not anybody intentionally did it, but that's just where the people around him growing up, that's all they knew to do. And so he's made peace with that. And it's like, okay, fine. It is what it is. And now it's a new generation. And let's change this. Let's go forward with a new story. Let's understand how this works. And let's get the kids in tune here. Let's give the kids the good start that they came for.
And it goes back beautifully to the question I asked about what about all the suffering in the world and these people born into these situations. Well, if you genuinely care and want that to change, and it's not I'm not saying that, throwing that out there, saying that you don't care, but if you want that to change, how else is that going to change than other than humanity telling themselves a new story about resources, about what is possible, how to live on this planet? Because it's not going to happen from what we've been doing. Because clearly it's not changed. Mate, you can say there's some improvement, but do you want radical change that we can all live a life that we want in safety and harmony and expression? Well, how else is that changed by you embodying that to begin with, rather than saying, well, all of you need to change that for us?
Yeah, no, this is a complete paradigm shift. I was thinking before we got on the call here together, and I was thinking, I talk about the matrix, that faulty reality bubble where we grow up with all these beliefs about self and life that are not even close. So much of it is not even close to the way it is. And then there is the way it is, the creative process, the knowledge of life. And what my program does, what I teach, it builds the bridge so you can cross and get back home to who you really are and how life really is. And and so that's where we are. That's where humanity is. We're crossing out. It's very interesting to me, and I love to see it. Some people I work with, they just want to be the light that roams on the planet and be the light for other people to light up. And other people, they want to go back and forth across the bridge. They want to hold the hand of people and say, look, it's good over here. We were missing a bunch of things, and this is why it is like it is for you. Let me hold your hand and let's cross that bridge. I'm going to show you how it really is, and you're going to like it a lot.
Mm. Brian, I thank you for your time today. Thank you for your work. I would love to, if you're open for it, have you back. So I feel like, as you said, there's another 10 hours of easily of conversation that you could keep going, because I find they're all keys though, aren't they? Because until you hear something that's necessarily specific to your own life circumstance, that can be the light bulb going off. You're like, oh, okay, I do that. So that's why going into telling it from 1,000 different angles is so useful, because it's all our own unique perspective on what's happening. How can people find you? I'll put it all in the show notes, but what's the best point of contact for you?
Well, of course, I'm on YouTube. My website is highervibrationsnow.com. And people can freely email me at b_withers@hotmail.com. And I'm reachable in all those ways. And it's great. It's great to see this awakening of humanity. And I think it's absolutely a brilliant time to be on planet Earth, to be part of it all.
I feel the same.
And would love to do more with you, Paul. I mean, I love talking. I got over 600 videos now, and you're so right. I mean, I'm saying, I say the same thing over and over, but I say it in different ways.
You say it different, yeah.
I just keep saying it in different ways, so it will appeal to people, right? In different ways. And because some people, sometimes I say it, and it's just like, didn't get it. And then I say, and I hear people come back in comments, they say, I didn't get it before, but this time the way you said it, I got it. Right.
Mm.
So that's the beauty thing about saying it, but keep saying it differently.
Yeah. Or it's, I think I mentioned this before on the podcast. It's funny. You can hear something. If I think of myself, someone might have said something 5 years ago, which was very true. But I don't actually hear it until somebody else says it in a different way 5 years later. And I'm ready to receive it. And then you'll go back to that person who told you that maybe 5 years ago, and he said, I just heard this thing about da 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 da. And I'm like, pretty sure I told you that. But you're just not, whatever it is, you needed to hear it. It's highly frustrating too when you do it and someone comes to you and says, I found some amazing thing. And you're like, oh my God. But it's just the way, I think just the way we're wired, isn't it? We need to continually hear these. I mean, we get bombarded all the time with the negativity. Look at the news and all the advertising. We're consistently swimming in a soup of all the things we don't want. They keep telling us over and over and over. So to flip that, put the things you want to know and want to hear, it's going to take time.
And you just hit the head on maybe the biggest reason. I mean, it is important to say things in different ways, but it's the saturation. I talk about that in my 20-week program book. It's the repetition and the saturation. You are so right. We get bombarded all day long with those same old faulty beliefs. People are talking about it. We see it on the news. We see things. We hear things. And we got two things working against us. We got our faulty beliefs broadcasting from our subconscious mind, making us, or influencing is a better word, influencing us to think those same old thoughts. And then we got the physical world that looks like it, and we're saying that's the way it is. But now we got to bring in this new voice, this new perspective, this way it is. And that's a big thing why I keep it up on YouTube. It's like, hey, you got that side and it keeps repeating. Let me keep filling you up with the good stuff, with the way it is. So we see if we can change some of these patterns, right? That's definitely a big reason I keep on YouTube, is to keep that daily message. Keep reconnecting. This is who you are. This is how it works. This is why you came here. This is how good it is. This is how good you are. Over and over. Hey, we got trained with that over and over in the other direction. Why not do it this way? Why not put the good stuff in and retrain and reprogram ourselves? I often use the word reparenting. Right? We want to sort of be that parent. Say, what would we like to have our parents have said to us? They didn't know because they got that programming. But when we were a kid, it would have been nice to have those other things said to us. But we can do it now. We can do that now. And it's a beautiful thing. But it was really fun being here with you, Paul. Fantastic discussion. Love talking about this. And you had great questions. You had great questions that I know people are interested in, and I'm happy to keep shedding light on it. So beautiful. Thank you for having me here on your show.